Welcome back into the Sean podcast. I am that Big Ush. Over here is that Cat Daddy. It's playoff time. So we're going to see what's rocking and a popping. Cat Daddy, what's on your mind?
We got some good topics today. We have our end of the season award winners. We have our playoff picks. We find out just how important home field advantage is. We have Black Monday, the head coaching doomsday. Does your team still have a head coach? Listen and find out.
All right, starting them off. Let's go with awards. I'm just going to go through. We don't need too much analysis. We've gone through this every week, and most of these are the same. I will talk about which ones we have different. So, Jonathan Taylor, Offensive Player of the Year. TJ Watt, Defensive Player of the Year. Jamar Chase, Offensive Rookie of the Year. Micah Parsons, Defensive Rookie of the Year. Won that back in November. Aaron Rodgers, MVP. What's his name? Coach of the Year. Who we got?
All right, Coach of the Year. This is tough. Because I look at Matt LaFleur and I see what he was able to do with the Packers team this year. Everything he was able to accomplish, everything he's able to overcome, both offense, defense. And then I look at Mike Vrabel, Tennessee Titans head coach. And he's been affected by injuries the same amount, if not more, than Matt LaFleur and the Packers. He's had 91 players on the active roster this season, which is a record that you don't want to have, but he was able to achieve that this year. And I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking he overcame more adversity with this team because his team really lost their MVP after the Halloween game when Derrick Henry went down. And they were able to find veterans to fill in. Dante Foreman, Hilliard, Adrian Peterson off the street, which I still think
didn't last long.
Horrible idea, but they still did it. And yes, the Titans play in the worst division in football, but there's so much that you overcame this season, and you have a new offensive coordinator and a new defensive coordinator.
Wait, what? I heard the Dallas Cowboys play in the worst division in football. That's what the people keep telling me online.
It's because they're haters, and they had their fill of haterade. That's exactly what it is.
Is that what there are?
Yeah.
But continue.
And you're thinking just on offense alone, they overcame injuries to potential Offensive Player of the Year MVP candidate Derrick Henry, Antonio Brown, Julio Jones. They lost Taylor Lewan for a little while. There is a lot they overcame, and to be able to overcome all that and secure the number one seed, yep. Now, do I think the media is going to vote for Mike Vrabel? That's a different story, but he's my pick for coach this year.
I agree with you.
Keyword.
I would also go with Mike Vrabel.
Should.
True. I also would go with Mike Vrabel. Now, here's the one we have kind of slightly a disagreement on, and that's Comeback Player of the Year. You go ahead and say yours.
Now, my second place person is Dak Prescott. So, I'm going to throw that out there. Just so we're clear that the two guys we're talking about are 1-2 on our list. It's just interchangeable. And, looking at Joe Burrow, his rookie season had ended prematurely due to the knee injury, and he came back this season, and he showed such remarkable improvement in his game overall, and he didn't even have a full rookie season, and he really showed that knee injury is no longer an issue. The last 4 games in Cincinnati's playoff push, he just balled out. He led them to a 3-1 record. He threw for nearly 1,500 yards, 11 touchdowns, no interceptions during that span. And he had his name even in the MVP consideration late in the season with how well he was playing. So my pick for comeback player of the year would be Joe Burrow.
All right, so I'm gonna say it like this. I don't have. I'm going to cop out here. I've got Dak Prescott as 1A and Joe Burrow as 1B. Their numbers are very similar. And my whole thing is when I go beyond the numbers, I personally think that Dak would deserve it a little bit more. Yes, does Joe Burrow play for the Bengals, which, that's a feat to accomplish getting them in the playoffs regardless, even though their record in that the record is a team stat. But that being said, Joe did have particular losses to teams that are sub 500 that were his fault. I would say teams like the Bears or the Jets. I believe it was the Jets. So I will throw those out there. And I would also say, just from my perspective, I saw the injury to Dak, like this ACL injury. Everybody's come back from ACL injuries. Dak's whole foot was turned the wrong way. Not to mention, they had said that the injury had the calf injury that Dak had was a clear was a result of the injury from last year. So there's that possibly in there. The fact that they still ended with similar numbers, and yes, at the end of the season, Joe went wild. So again, I have no issue with Joe getting the award. I just, from my perspective, from what I know, I just think Dak might have a slight edge. But that's my thoughts.
And I'm not going to be disappointed if Dak wins, because he would definitely deserve it if he wins the award. I think both of these guys, for what they're able to come back from and what they're able to progress to, just shows a testament to how well they play and character and what the game means to them. So Kirk Herbstreit, they love the game.
Let's not forget Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa did. I mean, he was also. I mean, it's a rarity where we have like superstars like this many superstars coming back.
Yeah, I mean, we could have had Christian McCaffrey as part of this conversation too, but maybe he'll be part of next year's. Maybe
he got injured again, so not so much Christian.
Yeah, but for Nick Bosa, he turns around with the career year, and it just shows how difficult and challenging it is for a defensive player to win a non-defensive specific award.
Heck, we could be talking about Derwin James.
Exactly. I mean, when you're throwing like everybody into the same pool, and you have players in the game's most important position,
it's hard when it's quarterback up there.
Yeah, it's gonna be so challenging. It's like we gotta separate these awards, like quarterback comeback player of the year and everybody else.
All right, moving on to these coaching vacancies. So we have the not surprising ones, like the Chicago Bears, the Jacksonville Jaguars already, I guess. So there's that.
Raiders.
You were not surprised. Well, the Raiders, we'll talk about the Raiders. That's a different story. Denver Broncos, you were not surprised about. Neither were you surprised about the Minnesota Vikings.
No.
So there's those two there. One that was majorly surprising was the Miami Dolphins. Wow, that is just... I just didn't expect it. I thought Brian Flores had that team playing really well. They were building on something nice, and they don't care.
I think this decision is deeper than performance on the field and the win-loss record, because it sounds like if Flores stayed, then he would have wanted another quarterback other than Tua. Now, the Dolphins drafted Tua ahead of Justin Herbert. Now, I think Flores was a bigger fan of Herbert before the draft. And
he was right.
And last year, I'd also like to say that I mocked Herbert to the Dolphins that year too. But,
I did.
Anyway,
I mocked Tua actually.
I know you were right. You're going with the correct pick. But think of last year. It was Brian Flores' decision to play Ryan Fitzpatrick over Tua. And it sounds like Flores was the main driving force behind the Deshaun Watson to Miami rumors.
Oh.
So could it have been a power struggle between the head coach and the general manager about quarterback and who they wanted back
I don't
there?
understand that. Do you get that?
It shouldn't happen because those two should be a very cohesive unit.
No, but more so. You've seen Tua play this year. I know he hasn't been perfect as a third-year player, even though, let's be honest, he missed a lot of time in between the last 2 years. But from what I see, you can build upon how he's played. He's played really well. So I don't understand it.
It's a different type of offensive style, though, because he's going to give you the accuracy. He's going to give you the RPO abilities, but you can't. He doesn't have big arms to make it like the Matthew Stafford type throws. And I have a feeling that's a quarterback more of what Brian Flores wanted.
At the same time, I get certain things, but what do you say? What do we say? You're a big proponent of this. You take good players, and I'm gonna say Tua is a good player, and you make your offense fit the player. You don't make the player fit the offense.
Yeah, you got to build around the player. It's not a college system where you can just rotate people in and out every year.
It's not like Tua can't go downfield. He has. So like I don't know. I don't agree with Brian Flores here.
I think Stephen Ross made the wrong decision by choosing Chris Greer, the general manager, over Brian Flores. Brian Flores did a great job. They got off to a rough start this year. They had the 7-game losing streak.
I can see why, because I mean this is a quarterback choice too. He didn't just choose general manager. He also looks like he chose the quarterback also.
So it's going to be really interesting to see who's the next head coach for Miami and what do they do about the quarterback situation. Because Ross,
it's a package deal. It's got to be.
It's got to be. But when Ross was asked about it, what does it mean for like Watson coming to Miami or any rumors about that? He made a comment about, well, it's going to be up to the next head coach. And I thought that was a really strange comment because I'm thinking, well, if it was really up to the head coach, Brian Flores would have had Watson in Miami, but you just do want to give an answer that's not really an answer. And
that's weird.
Yeah. It is going to make things interesting.
I'm saying, are you sure that it's Flores? I mean, what if it's the other way around? Because Flores said multiple times, Tua is my quarterback. What if it's the other way around? What if it's the GM that wants Watson and Flores was making the play for Tua?
Could be. It could be, but how many
would
times
make that comment make more sense?
It would. But you're thinking the GM's the one who's pulling the trigger on the trade. You know, the GM's got to get the owner approval. So if they were both on board with it, it doesn't matter what Brian Flores thinks.
Remember. Well, no, that's what I'm saying. That's why Brian Flores is out. Maybe he wanted to move forward with Tua.
But it wouldn't have been. Yeah, but it wouldn't have been his call if they wanted to trade for him. It's not like they'd say, well, Brian, we need you to sign off on this before we trade. They can make the deal.
What I'm saying is maybe he was kicking up some dust on that. Maybe it was, maybe raising a stink, and it was just like, okay, it's like the old San Diego Chargers thing, where they let go of Marty Schottenheimer after a 13-3 season because of old laundry of Marty Schottenheimer never wanting to give up on Drew Brees, and they've got Phillip Rivers sitting there, and that's who the GM likes.
We're going to find out in the next couple of months, especially leading up into the draft and free agency. So it's going to be really interesting to see, but I think Brian Flores can quite easily land himself another job as a head coach this season.
A 3-way trade. All right? Bear with me. A 3-way trade. Watson to Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Houston gets first round picks.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tua to, let's say, Denver. Because Denver's got that ball control game. Plus, he's got receivers like Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton. Cortland Sutton can still run routes. All he's got to do is be accurate.
It would be funnier in this scenario if Brian Flores was the head coach in Denver.
Yeah, there it is. There it is. All right. There was one more firing that was just recent. We were told that Joe Judge's job was safe. I guess it wasn't. So the New York Giants decided to move on from Joe Judge. I mean, I've been saying it.
Man, especially on that Monday, I'm thinking, how does Brian Flores not have a job, but Joe Judge does?
Ain't that the truth?
What kind of world is it for Joe Judge, and all of his ineptitude, still has a job?
No, let's look at this. Brian Flores, Mike Zimmer, Vic Fangio. Look at where their teams finished. And Joe Judge is still has a job? What is going on in the world?
Yeah.
So it also looks like Pete Carroll and Ron Rivera are going to stick around their particular franchises.
Maybe see some surprises as the offseason continues.
It is quite possible. We're still waiting on Houston because it's really interesting that the Jets coaching staff will be coaching the Senior Bowl instead of the Houston coaching staff. So that's really interesting there.
That is. I think I'm reading too much into that one because typically your coaching staff at the Senior Bowl is going to be the team from the NFC and the team from the AFC who have the worst record. Now, typically, as long as there are no significant coaching changes, like changing a head coach, those would be the staffs that are working with the players. And you're thinking Houston had the worst record in the AFC, so they should be going there.
Technically.
Unless
they have the same record. It's just Houston has the worst differential.
Yeah, and maybe that's what it is, but I don't feel good about David Culley's job being safe into a second year because
no one feels safe about that.
Nick Caserio's the GM, and I'm thinking they could do something really dumb, and they could bring Joe Judge in as their head coach, and that would just make me dislike the Houston franchise even more.
Yeah.
Or they could be waiting for the Patriots to finish the playoffs and bring Josh McDaniels in for an interview.
They could.
There's the whole New England connection there.
Another team that's looking like they're keeping their head coach, that a little bit of head scratcher, and that's Matt Rule for Carolina. And I think this is a contract thing.
Yeah, he signed a 7-year deal, I think.
It was a 7-year deal. It's contract.
Yeah. Did you see any part of his interview where he was asked about trading for Sam Darnold and how he felt?
No, I did not.
Oh, he looked
great theater.
He looked and he sounded so nervous, uneasy when he was talking to reporters about, how do you feel about the decision to go and, get Sam Darnold in the offseason? And he said something like...
We said it was a bad decision. We said we hoped that Sam Darnold revitalized his career, but we don't see it.
Yeah, and he was saying something like bringing him here to be the starter, knowing that if he had a great year, he'd be a high-priced guy going into free agency. If he's our starter at $19 million, that's low-end money. That's a decision made. It's like...
Well, I do have a coaching, because all these teams are interviewing coaches, and none of them have really narrowed it down as they show so far. But there is one team, which is doing specific interviews that are a bit of a head scratcher to me. And I want to get your opinion on this. And that's the Denver Broncos. Here's my question. So they have this defensive-minded head coach in the building, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Vic Fangio. The defense is not a problem for this team, is it?
No.
So, all right. So they're letting Vic Fangio go, right?
Yep.
And everyone they're scheduled to interview is what? A defensive-minded head coach.
Oh, close. They have a lot of defensive coordinators on the list. I think the list I saw for interviews requested included candidates like Dan Quinn, defensive coordinator in Dallas, Gerard Mayo, linebacker coach, New England, Aaron Glenn, defensive coordinator, Detroit, Jonathan Gannon, defensive coordinator, Philly, and then you have Kellen Moore, offensive coordinator, Dallas, Nathaniel Hackett, offensive coordinator, Green Bay.
I knew about the Nathaniel Hackett one. I didn't know that I didn't realize that they had requested for Kellen Moore.
Yeah, they requested for Eric Bieniemy in Kansas City, Kevin O'Connell with the Rams.
I'm just saying, I get it, but at the same time, I would, if I'm Denver,
they have a lot of
straight
candidates. Yeah,
I'm just going straight up offense, and I'm going to try to hire somebody like Zimmer to be the DC. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, it would be funny if they brought. I mean, funny in a good way if they were able to get an offensive-minded head coach, and they brought Vic Fangio back as defensive coordinator, because that's clearly a specialty of his. I know that would be a really bad look, and it'd be like,
but that's okay, because I know where Vic Fangio's going.
Where's he going?
Oh, he's going to be the defensive coordinator of Dallas after another
Dan
team
Quinn
hires Dan Quinn.
Which could be the Broncos. I heard Dan Quinn's a very popular name for the Broncos, but it's very
because,
early.
When he was with, I think it was Miami, he was the GM. He has a relationship with the GM for the Broncos.
George Payton. Interesting. One name I did find really interesting for the Denver Broncos is they requested an interview with Nathaniel Hackett, Green Bay's offensive coordinator.
I knew you'd find that one interesting.
That one's expected. I'm going to get back to that in a couple of seconds. The one I found really interesting was they also requested an interview with Green Bay's quarterback coach and passing game coordinator, Luke Getsy. So in my mind, I'm thinking, all right, if we're connecting dots here, you hire Nathaniel Hackett as your head coach, you hire Luke Getsy as your offensive coordinator, and then you bring Aaron Rodgers over.
Yeah, it looks like a power move there.
Boom. And that's exactly what's going through my minds.
One of the big ones for me that I think has to happen, and maybe it's a mistake, but it just looks like it should happen, and that's Byron Leftwich to the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's just Byron's former relationship with the Jaguars, being a first-round pick of theirs, being a franchise quarterback there. I know that Jacksonville fans, he still means a lot to that community there, and it just would make so much sense for him to get his first shot as a head coach with Jacksonville to help groom a young quarterback.
Nathaniel Hackett's another name on the requested interview list for Jacksonville, and Hackett was Jacksonville's offensive coordinator back when Blake Bortles was actually playing good football. So I thought that might be an interesting connection, but I really don't. I hope he doesn't go to Jacksonville.
I mean, we'll see.
We'll see. So we have 7 openings, right? We have Chicago, Denver, Jacksonville, Las Vegas, Miami, Minnesota, the Giants.
I think Las Vegas is filled. I think Rich Bisaccia, this is Rich Bisaccio's job. He took them to the playoffs.
He did. It's an impressive move. I don't know if he's the guy though.
I'm sorry, you don't walk away from a guy who got you into the playoffs. I just don't agree with that.
But if they didn't make the playoffs, let's say they lost
If they would
the
have
game
lost that
against.
game, then yes, you move on.
Oh, I don't know if one season of playoffs gets you that type of loyalty though.
Considering from my understanding how much people like Rich Bisaccio, considering what this coaching staff has done with this roster, considering the repair,
Everything they
this
won through
team
this season, yeah,
could have fallen apart with
very easily.
everything that's gone on. So yeah, I think it does.
All right, so let's say Las Vegas is occupied. It's filled by Rich Bisaccia. You have 6 teams left. Of these 6, which one do you think would be the most desirable for a head coach?
Denver, easily.
Yeah, I agree with that one. I agree.
I mean, I didn't even have to think about that one.
Because you have Chicago, and Chicago is requesting all these interviews with just about everybody. Like the Dallas's coordinators, both of them getting requested. Buffalo's coordinators, both of them getting requested. And I'm thinking,
ooh, wait. Miami looks pretty good too, man. And Miami's got a quarterback. But it depends on the internal politics, what's going on with Miami.
I know, and that's a tough part. And that's why I want to rule out Chicago, because Chicago's requesting all these interviews for coaches, and they also got rid of their GM. Ryan Pace is gone. You're going to conduct head coaching interviews before you have a GM in place? That just doesn't seem like a smart move. You want your GM to hire the head coach. You don't hire the head coach to get the GM, because you have poor decisions.
Oh no!
So I don't know what Chicago's doing.
There's another really good one. Oh, there's some my top 3. I'll say.
Well, let's rule out some. Let's say, which ones would you not want? The Giants. You don't want the Giants.
Hands down, not the Giants.
With Trent Baalke in Jacksonville, I don't want Jacksonville.
That's the problem, but you got Trevor Lawrence there.
You got Trent Baalke.
I know. This is such a hard one. Here's one. No, Minnesota Vikings. That's a desirable one. Minnesota Vikings.
You know what's funny about the Minnesota job? Is not only did Mike Zimmer get the can, but Rick Spielman, their general manager, also got fired. And the unfortunate thing for Minnesota is you just let George Payton walk last year to Denver.
Mm-hmm.
He would have been a great person to just slide right in and take over that GM responsibility when Spielman was gone. But you couldn't retain him, or you couldn't get rid of Spielman a year earlier, and now you lost out on him.
If Chicago, have you heard about one of the Chicago's? If Chicago can pull off what they're trying to pull off, of like one of the things they're looking at, it's a big move.
Oh, there are so many names that are connected to Chicago right now.
Well, Indianapolis, the player personnel for Indianapolis, I forgot his name. And then with him as a tandem,
Matt Eberflus.
Yes, Matt Eberflus. That would be huge for Chicago if they were able to pull that off.
They need to fix. Like I don't disagree with it. I think that would be a good move. But Chicago needs to stop looking at head coaching candidates.
They do,
and they need to say we need to fix this GM stuff.
That's the situation. That's a perfect situation there, because those are two guys that have worked together. All right, well, we're going to continue this discussion next week, because I'm sure we'll still be talking about some head coaches, and we're going to jump into the games real quick. You guys can tell us what you think of the head coaching searches. Oh, one interesting one right before we get into it. I think this would be a terrible move, but some people are saying that the Giants should go back and hire the guy that they snubbed for Joe Judge. And that's Wink Martindale. I just don't see it. I just don't see it.
I don't.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, all right, jumping into these games. So first game, Saturday, 3:30. We have the Raiders traveling to Cincinnati. Play those Bengals. Line is 5.5. I got the Bengals, but I ain't got them at 5.5.
No, the Las Vegas defense knows how to bring the pressure. If they can bring the pressure well enough against Cincinnati's offensive line, which still isn't great, then they have a chance to get an upset here. But with Las Vegas also coming off a 5-quarter game against the Chargers, where they were just extremely exhausted, and then you play the first game of the playoffs, that's not the ideal turnaround that you want. So I like Cincinnati, but I'm with you. I don't like the points.
All right, next up, Saturday night. We got the Patriots traveling to Buffalo to see those Bills. Have you ever been to the stadium? What is it, Highmark Stadium in Buffalo?
No.
Oddest stadium you'll ever go to because it's below sea level, I guess. You know what I mean by that? So they dug a hole and built a stadium in it.
Interesting.
Ain't it the truth?
Yeah.
So yeah, you pretty
Strange.
much walk in almost at the upper deck. But that being said, the line is 4. I'm actually taking Buffalo here. Mac Jones has not been playing well the last month or so.
This one's a hard one because you're thinking New England and Buffalo have already played each other twice this season. This is game number 3. The winner.
But that first game doesn't matter.
I know.
It doesn't count.
The winner has always been, at least this year, the visiting team. New England can run the ball really well. Buffalo can't quite defend the run very well. But I think if New England's going to win, they're going to have to rely on Mac Jones, and Mac Jones just seems to have hit a rookie wall for himself. But in this game, I think Buffalo overall has a better defense. Buffalo has a better offense, and
Ain't that the truth?
it's hard to pick against Bill Belichick, but I'm going Buffalo.
All right, going to Sunday afternoon. We've got the Eagles traveling to Tampa Bay to face those Buccaneers. This line is 8.5. I like the Bucs here, but not at 8.5.
Now, you think of when they played earlier this season, Tampa Bay only came away with a 28-22 victory, so it's still a one-possession game earlier in the season. Philadelphia's improved since then. Tampa Bay has lost people and lost more people. It's tempting to go with an upset, but it's very hard for me to choose a rookie head coach Nick Sirianni over Bruce Arians. So that's similar. I like Tampa. Don't like the points.
All right, next up we have the Niners going into Dallas, face the Cowboys. The line is 3. This is a tough game. Niners could easily win this game, but I've got the Cowboys winning this one at home. I'll take that spread too. That is a very close spread. So I'm going to take Dallas in this game, but I can full-fledged see the Niners winning this game.
I like this game for 2 reasons. I like it because it is the only playoff matchup where the teams have not already played each other this season. So that's nice to see. And I also like it because it brings back memories of the 90s when you had, Troy Aikman and the Dallas Cowboys going against Steve Young and the 49ers. Good times.
Good times.
Good times. In order for Dallas to win, they need to establish their run game early and often.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
But no. I think for Dallas to win this game, they have to get the short passing game going.
avoid mistakes. That's for sure.
Exactly. Be on
Can't
the
make
same page,
mistakes.
and they need to tackle. That is the biggest part of this game for Dallas. Tackle. That is how the Niners beat you. Is you don't if you don't get pressure on Jimmy Garoppolo. So they need to get pressure on Jimmy Garoppolo, and when guys like Deebo Samuel or Eli Mitchell or George Kittle or Brandon Ayuk get the ball in their hands, they need to stone them and tackle them right there in place. Limit the yak, because that is how the Niners beat you.
It is. I don't know which Jimmy G is going to show up, so I'm going with Dallas.
All right, next up, we have the Steelers traveling to Arrowhead. KC is favored by 12.5. That's the biggest line this weekend. It is a nonsense line. And I'm taking the Chiefs, but do not take those points. That is a nope. It's TJ Watt playing. Yes, do not take those points.
If this was a Kansas City offense from last year, even the 2019 season, maybe those points, maybe you would take them. But this year's Kansas City team, you have no idea what's going to show up on offense. You have no idea what's going to show up on defense. What we do know is Ben Roethlisberger is going to be the quarterback for Pittsburgh, and
you know that.
And he just.
We do know Pittsburgh isn't going to score any points until the second half.
Maybe late fourth quarter is when they'll start scoring. So hopefully Pittsburgh gets some turnovers in there. But I got Kansas City in this one. I don't think Ben Roethlisberger is going to have like the Ray Lewis effect on the team and pump them up before the game. I don't think that's going to happen.
And then finally, we have the Arizona Cardinals traveling to LA to face the Rams. I'm going to take the Cardinals here. I just don't believe in the Rams. I just don't believe in. I don't believe in Stafford. I love what Cooper Kupp's done this year, but the Rams, they don't inspire confidence, in my opinion.
I know. But at the same time, the Cardinals don't inspire a lot of confidence.
No, they do not. No, they do not. But they are getting J.J. Watt back.
He's going to be back for this one.
He started his practice window last week.
All right. So, I think DeAndre Hopkins is still out for another week or two, depending on how far Arizona can get.
I'm still taking Arizona. I am. I'm just feeling. For whatever reason, I'm feeling it.
I don't feel good about this, but I'm going to pick the Rams. And I don't like the idea that I selected all home teams. I don't like the idea that I selected all favorites. I don't like it. I don't feel comfortable with it. And another thing I don't like is a playoff football game on a Monday night. I don't like that. That is garbage by the NFL to even put that product on TV, because playoff football is meant for Saturday and Sunday, and whoever wins this game is going to have a quick turnaround time when it comes to that next week. And their luck is going to be the Saturday games. They play Monday night and they play Saturday afternoon.
No. If it's in Green Bay, it's going to be the. Let's say Dallas wins, and the winner of this one goes to Green Bay. It's going to be the Sunday afternoon game, because guess what? You gotta listen to those two blonde idiots. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Is it Joe Buck and Troy Aikman?
Exactly. Dallas's game is on CBS. I'm good with that.
Really? Man, how'd they get so lucky?
The Eagles and Bucks have the Fox game.
More reasons to not like Monday Night Football playoff edition.
All right. That's all she wrote for this one, folks. Cat Daddy, what are your words of wisdom for this week?
brace yourself for a wild, wacky, and probably unpredictable playoffs, just like we experienced in the regular season. So don't think things are going to return to normal just because the playoffs are here. I really think that any of these teams are capable of upsets. I don't think there's a clear favorite slam dunk choice to win in advance. So brace yourselves.
All right. My words of wisdom is this: do your research, be careful about it, be correct. I don't care if it's the playoffs, I don't care if it's the Super Bowl. There is such a thing as picking the wrong snacks.